Industry-leading entrepreneurs are the ones that have changed the world as we know it for all of us. I have taken the time to deep dive and study the 8 common denominators of what all industry-leading entrepreneurs believe and have in common. If you want to find out what those are, stay tuned.
All this growth, all of these amazing changes, all of these prizes. How has your circle been changing as well? We've discussed a lot about circles.
Oh, yeah.
But they're shifting. They're growing.
I gotta.
New people are coming in and some old people are going out.
Oh, man.
What's it looking like for you these days, Britt?
Well, my favorite analogy came to me this year at the Writers Retreat from Sharon Lechter, the author, co-author of Rich Dad, Poor Dad and all of the Rich Dad, Poor Dad series. She's incredible. So she was doing a writer's summit here, and we had somebody in the audience ask, like, how do you deal with people who are putting you down? Like, even in the course of writing your book or trying to do any dream. And she said, you know, as you grow, your circle needs to change. But instead of thinking of it as like a 5-person circle around you, it's better to think of everybody in your life as being in the audience, and you're on the stage of your own life. And so as you're growing, you may have to choose to move people back a few rows or 20, because the people whose advice you need to stand on need to be the ones close to you. You need to put new people in those seats. So instead of thinking you have to evict your friends, which a lot of people are seeing, they have to remove their friends or get rid of their friends. And it's so hard for them because they love them. They want to help them too.
And that causes fear and panic.
Yeah.
And they won't do it at all.
It's this whole thing. You do not ever have to have the breakup conversation with your friend, ever. I do not recommend that unless you want to get some hate. I just think you just end up being busy and spending time with more people that you want to be like. So in summary of Sharon's story, move the people whose voices you need to stand on in this season of your life to the front, and move the people whose advice you don't need to listen to back, and potentially out of the entire auditorium. So I love that visual. That's been super helpful for me. My circle right now, you know, it's only people I want to be like. So who do you want to be like? And find people who are already there. Why? Because they know the path. They know how to get there faster. I know how to get through building wealth through real estate investing way faster than a newbie. I can tell you, don't turn left there. Do not do it. That's going to waste 5 years of your life. Take a right there. And that's the power of experience, is you know what questions to ask. So right now, I have an incredible circle of Force for Good billionaires who are normalizing having thousands of employees for me, having huge dreams that you turn into inventions. You make your companies out of the problems you want to solve in the world. And so I call those industry-changing entrepreneurs. And those people have a lot of different things going on that is super powerful. So I want to be an industry-leading entrepreneur. And so what do? I start studying the common denominators of industry-leading entrepreneurs. And I've come up with 8 common denominators if you want to hear them.
Don't want to hear them. Yep, I'll take some notes.
Industry leading, you know, and that's the difference. Most people go from being, you know, a sole proprietor and they're just like hustling their skills to an entrepreneur where they own a business. And then the industry leading entrepreneurs are the ones that change the world as we know it. And I really enjoyed spending time with them because they think so different. And I feel like the biggest peasant ever around them, which is such a good sign because you want to be the peasant, not like you want to stay there. But the reason it's good to feel so like, oh my gosh, what am I doing with my life? Is they're resetting the standard of what's possible for you.
That's right.
I have like a mini identity crisis every time I hang out with Naveen Jain because I'm like, I have done nothing. And that's, again, not like I've done nothing, therefore I'm not worthy, but I've done nothing because there's so much more to do. There's so much good we can do in the world. If I just applied myself, I could do it. But again, in my studies, I found these 8 common denominators, which I love. I love a good common denominator.
Yep.
That's what you learn living in your car. So number 1 is these industry leading entrepreneurs understand that failure is part of the deal. So if you really look at what Elon Musk believes, he says failure is an option here at Tesla, at SpaceX, at everything he runs.
Mhm.
If things are not failing, then we are not innovating enough. If something's important enough, you should try, even if the probable outcome is failure.
Failure is an option. That's cool.
I love it. So I have a picture of him and his face
Yeah.
as he watched the first 2 rockets blow up.
Yeah.
First one blows up, second one blows up,
Gosh.
third one makes it. You
Mhm.
know, SpaceX would not be here if
Mhm.
that third one blew up, but he was willing to try. And that's amazing. So instead of like really labeling yourself out of the game as I'm a failure, I'm never going to make it with this like weird lie that we start believing, you just have to understand failure is part of the game.
Sure.
And so if you know it's part of the game, then you don't let it define you.
Sure. And
Right?
accept that you need it in your life if you want to be big.
Mm-hmm.
Embrace it, plan for it. It
Mhm.
should happen. And here's a great one. If it hasn't happened to you yet,
Mm-hmm.
what are you doing?
The big thing is like
Yeah.
you can't expect to get things right if you've freaking never done it before.
Right.
Why? Like you were not a good walker. You fell all over the place. You looked like an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
that's one way to look at it. Or
Yeah.
you could look at it and say, I'm learning to walk.
Sure.
Same thing in business. So you want number 2?
I want number 2.
All right. Number 2 is industry leading entrepreneurs take great ideas and make them even greater. They don't knock themselves out of the game by saying, well, Yahoo's already created. Nope. They Google their Yahoo. They Facebook their MySpace. They Uber their Lyft. They
Sure.
I don't know who came first on that one, but the point is like, they don't care if it's been done before.
Right.
They take these new innovations, just like what you're doing with this brainwave
Yeah.
tracker, or whatever you call it, is they're taking ideas and applying it new places and they're doing it even better. So I love that. Number 3 is they always find a way, not an excuse, just like the Richard Branson example on the beach is, well, I want to create a space company, a space travel company that makes it not hard, not expensive, and not dangerous. So they find a way, not an excuse. Number 4 is they study the future and they don't get stuck in the past. And I've got this beautiful picture of Steve Jobs on my wall too, where he's constantly pushing what people thought was even acceptable. You know, he says, know the needs of your customer and be willing to push the limits. Take risks per data, which is just super cool.
That's really good. I want to pause there for a second to just go over some of these. I've heard a lot of my friends, coaching clients, whoever, about number 2, take great ideas and make them greater.
Mm-hmm.
They stop if it's been done.
Right.
Like, oh, no. I can't invent that. It's
it's
already
been
invented.
done.
Oh, there's no point. I should even do that. It's already been done. It's like, how many?
Ridiculous.
Imagine if you're an artist.
Yeah.
Like, no, I'm not going to write a song. There's already songs out there. Or like, what?
Right.
Like, I don't want to make a pizza shop. There's already pizza shops.
Right.
Like, yeah. I mean, when I started real life trading, stock market education, stock market company, stock market, whatever, it's one of the most competitive industries on earth.
Mm.
So I said, okay, how can I make it greater? Oh, yeah. I'm going to be really excited, energetic. I'm going to make it free.
Yeah.
Hello.
Are you going to wear leopard clothes? You know.
And I will wear leopard clothes. It will become better.
I got to tell you something that sounds mean.
Hit me.
So when my dad first met you and he watched you teaching on G4 stock tips,
Yeah.
you were wearing like a t-shirt and you were
Yeah.
doing your
I was walking on the treadmill.
walking on the treadmill
Calendar
and giving
club.
this amazing tips out. And he was like, you know, I think Jeremy Newsom would do better if he wore like a suit and tie. And I was like, but that's the old way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is the new way
Mhm.
to bring boring information to some people that could get lost in all these words that you use to teach stocks? Again, it could be boring because people don't know the language yet. And how do you take information that could glaze somebody's eyes over and make it really fun and exciting and real,
Right.
which is real life trading? You
Yeah.
make it real. What are most traders doing? They look like you.
Yeah.
They're in their house and they're on their treadmills and they're making day trades and they're doing their thing.
Sure.
So let's show the customer base what life is really like. So I love that.
And and they're wearing leopard print clothing. Hopefully.
Absolutely.
The
The secret formula for all truly successful traders.
I feel like number 3 that you wrote down or that you mentioned, find a way, not an excuse. That's like season 1 and 2 of Broke to
My life
Woke.
tattoo. Yeah. My entire life
Yeah.
face tattoo.
Yeah. That's your next face tattoo for sure.
Yes.
Because again, it's going to happen. There's ways to do it. There is a solution to every problem.
Mm-hmm.
So don't say impossible, especially around Britney.
Don't.
Don't say don't say can't, don't say won't. It's like, there's a way, make it happen. And then study the future
Mm-hmm.
and don't get stuck in the past.
Don't do it.
How do you think, just to pause there for a moment until we get to the next episode, how do you think
you're going to make
people...
them wait?
Yeah, I'm going to make them wait.
You're going to make the people wait?
Well, I mean, they only paid $5,000 for this episode. If they want to pay another $5 to get it now. But studying the future, how do you personally study the future? How does BT do it?
Very interesting question.
Yeah.
I look at movements, not trends. And to be honest with you, like
answer,
I like pray into things too. And I'm like, what is resonating with this movement in my soul? Even some movements that are not something I would necessarily put my stamp of approval on, even those, I still ask, like, why is this resonating with people's souls? What are they upset about? What change is like God looking to do in the earth that people have been asleep to? What's here to stay? What are people doing that's like, oh, it's a random cool challenge, basically, versus like trend? Like tiny homes was a trend, but minimalism is a movement. You know, that's not going away anytime soon. People don't want to be controlled and owned by their stuff. And so when I saw tiny homes come out, I'd ask myself, what are they looking for? Because it's just unrealistic to live in those, like for everybody to live in those. People want freedom to travel. They want to take their kids places. They don't want to be bound to mowing their yard every week. How can I give them that? And so I started designing houses that have an Airbnb space in them to where either people can live in that part of the house and or rent it out to where their house is now an asset, not a liability.
That was like 7 years ago.
I know. I started this a while ago.
Yeah.
And then the other thing, I'm still doing it.
I just had to bring that up.
I just built built like 8 more this week.
Yeah.
The other thing I did is when I built my developments, I had everybody can own a house, so they can still say they own a house, but all the land in between and the gardens and the play places and all this stuff was still mowed by an HOA, which was awesome. They had a dog run, so there's somewhere for their dog to go. They're connected to trails. So it's like having access to all this land and play area that you don't have to take care of, which is amazing. So how can I have it all and yet still have my freedom, still have my family, still get to travel, still do all these things? And that was what I learned from, again, trend versus movement. And so you're seeing a lot of, I'm sure we could go on a huge tangent about this, like trends that we're seeing versus movements.
Yeah.
Which ones are we paying very close attention to? I don't know. Should we get into that in later episodes?
I think we absolutely should, for sure. And before we do, just a quick little fun fact. She mentioned tiny homes. If anyone out there is doing Airbnbs or you want to do Airbnbs, the small square footage spaces, bang for your buck, are some of the better investments that you can make, right? If you have a 600 square foot little love shack cabin out in the middle of nowhere that costs whatever, $35,000 all in, that thing can Airbnb and cash flow for 80, 70, $90 a night, like no problem. And that's going to cash flow like crazy.
Right.
Yeah.
But it depends on location.
Of course.
You know, Nashville, we get a lot of bachelorette parties. People want 4 bedrooms.
Correct.
If you're up in the mountains, those little love shack cabins are definitely what to invest in.
Yeah.
And so location, all these things matter, but we're going to get into those things. Should I give one more for the people?
One more for the people.
One more. All right. Number 5. Top common denominator for industry leading entrepreneurs is they don't flop around with the media or watch much of it. And that's really what I'm talking about too, is they don't get lost in having to post this or else you're going to get canceled, or having to have this specific background. Like they realize that media is a for-profit entity. And they make a lot more money selling fear
all day
and scarcity in exchange for more expensive advertising. They know if they can scare you, you will click it, because that is a survival instinct inside. So that has to still do with these trends versus movements. What is your movement? What do you need to be on the bandwagon of? What is your cause that is going to not make your background change on social media unless you are on board with that cause? Like, what is right for you? Do not feel like you have to do what everybody else is doing. Super important. And with that, we're probably going to have to go through the rest in the next episode.
We will see you there. Thanks so much for tuning in and listening to this episode of Broke to Awoke.
Broke to Awoke.
The G-Force Mastermind. You're going to find out all about it at broketowoke.com so you can get the dates, the information, the details. Click it, learn it, love it. It's going to be amazing.